Hey guys, Rominating Reaper here. So I've just got done watching Deep Cover on Prime Video. This is directed by Tom Kingsley from a script co-written by Ben Ashenden and Alexander Owen. This also notably has the involvement of Colin Trevorrow and Derek Connolly, responsible for the Jurassic World trilogy. And look, the whole premise of this actually sounded really interesting. You know, sort of comic crime caper centered on an improv comedy troupe. That sounds like it could be a lot of fun. You know, it seems like something that should, in theory, be a proper crowd pleaser. And so naturally, it's gone straight to streaming. But even with that, I went in with an open mind, hoping that this would deliver a just solid fun time. But does the film live up to the comic potential of its high concept premise? Let's find out. So the film follows Kat, an improv comedy teacher in London, who's wondering if she'd missed her shot at getting her big break. However, during a live showcase of her students' improv abilities, she ends up getting that big break when she is approached by Billings, a police officer, to join him in a new top secret police venture in which improv artists are recruited to go undercover and carry out sting operations. And so she recruits two of her students, Marlon and Hugh, to join her on this. However, the trio find themselves in way over their heads and their improv skills put to the test when they're asked to go undercover to get close to a crook known as Fly in order to bring down a big drug deal with the Albanians. So look, just a glance at the poster, you're probably thinking, this is another fake Amazon original, and the complete lack of cinema release, well, aside from the South by Southwest London premiere, seemingly confirms that. But in amongst the vast sea of mediocrity that is streaming content, surely an unexpected gem has to slip through the cracks. And well, happily, this is that gem. It's a hugely entertaining watch, and it's absolutely criminal it didn't get a cinema release. I think what really makes it sing is the dynamic between its central trio. You know, you've got Bryce Dallas Howard as Kat. She's very much the straight man, or rather, straight woman, to the other two. And there's some, great moments in how, very much her acting as the brains of the operation tries to keep it from going off the rails, and some great moments between the three of them. Including Nick Mohammed as Hugh. He's very funny with his sort of socially awkward, shy mannerisms and bumbling ineptitude. Clearly not cut out to be a serious criminal. But the standout is Orlando Bloom as Marlon, a wannabe method actor who constantly trips himself up by getting way too into character. Yeah, he is a delight, and so many of the film's best scenes are from him. But I think how the three operate as a trio really makes this work because, the film's navigating a pretty tricky tonal balance here, balancing out comedy with a more serious, straight crime thriller. But it's on the magnificent shoulders of its central trio that it more than manages that balance effortlessly. Now, obviously, there's plenty of great laughs that come from, how the trio makes use of their improv skills, but also, some more dramatic stuff and how they find themselves in way over their heads in the, very real stakes of the criminal underworld. And there's some great set pieces that really, maximize that stress, such as an awkward intervention and a genuinely like anxiety inducing interrogation at one point. You know, it plays this stuff both for laughs and for suspense, and it manages both effortlessly. Now, obviously, yes, the criminal underworld would not be complete without a stacked ensemble of performers, which it delivers in spades. Very much the trio's way into this world is Billings, a police officer played by Sean Bean, who does a great job, constantly at wit's end, very much frustrated by the trio's methodology. Yeah, some great scenes with him. On the criminal side of things, you've got Paddy Considine as Fly, who's very much like this, tough, real deal crook, who also has a bit more tragedy going on beneath the surface than you might expect. Of course, you also have Ian McShane as Metcalf, this absolutely psychotic crime boss, and he's just having a great time, really relishing this role, Scottish accent and all. Yeah, oh man, he is great. We also have some sort of laughs in the form of a subplot involving two police officers, ironically played by the film's writers, very much on the trail of its mismatched central trio. Admittedly, this subplot does take a little bit to find its footing, but once it does, once the two plots collide, there are so many funny moments. It's also shockingly well made. Like, the cinematography and, overall color palette looks surprisingly good, as it, very much makes use of that London setting, especially at night. You also got a high-tempo score from Daniel Pemberton, always reliable, and that very much sells the high stakes of its crime thriller plot. Also got a great use of licensed tracks as well. Seriously, nothing could have prepared me for that Tom Jones needle drop. All of this is in service of, its overall tone, carrying it right through to a final act, full of twists and, suspenseful moments and some surprising and effective character payoffs. Admittedly, some of this, yes, you'll probably be able to tell exactly how it's going to go, because, for as well done as it is, it's not as sharply written as other tonal balancing acts, like, say, last year's Hitman, which, had quite interesting psychological themes in amongst its, comedy and, crime drama. This is, much more surface level and straightforward than that, so obviously a lot of its outcomes are a bit more obvious in comparison, but they're all really satisfyingly executed, and I think it's thanks to the strength of its, endlessly likable three leads that it more than makes these work and really sticks the landing. Yeah, I cannot believe I've actually just sung the praises of a streaming original, but here we are. Overall, Deep Cover is a surprisingly entertaining blend of comedy and straightforward crime thrills, more than effortlessly carried by the endlessly likable work of its central trio. Yeah, I would absolutely highly recommend giving this one a watch. It is so worth your time, and you'll have a blast. Out of 10, Deep Cover gets an 8. So yeah, let me know down in the comments. Have you seen Deep Cover? What did you think of it? Would you have gone to see this if it had been released in cinemas? And would you like to see more films like this get made in the future? Fingers crossed, not relegated to streaming service. And what did you make of the Central Trio's performances? Let me know all that down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload.